So do we want to talk about Into the Sun?
Let's talk about Into the Sun.
Episode 18, Into the Sun.
Hit it off. Hit it.
Somehow a more forgettable and also less forgettable title than the last one.
Yeah, I'm remembering this one.
Like this one at least has some kind of meaning to it.
More easily.
Does it though?
It does.
Well, I mean, because like it takes place in Japan. It literally has the Japanese flag. Like,
okay, I guess
that's what the End of the Sun is. All right.
At the very end of the movie, he does literally walk into the sun as it moves very dramatically towards him. I can't even say that I didn't like this one.
Hey, we haven't started talking about it.
Jesus!
What?
We haven't even given the intro yet.
Well, whose fault is that, Zach?
Yeah.
But you can't check your six. It's kind of like, taking a screwdriver to a gunfight. What's happening? Just like on top.
Hello, and welcome to Movies. This one, Into the Sun. Not a very good movie, I think.
No, you're right.
My name is Zachary.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Hans.
I have opinions.
I have opinions too. Bad ones. This one is Into the Sun. Yeah. Welcome to episode 18 of Steven Seagal, where Steven Seagal, returns to his ancestral homeland, of Tokyo, Japan, ? Should I just dive right in, or is there anything we want to say before we...
I want to give, because I've just been holding this in all day since I watched this movie. I'm just going to give my very general impression. That's all I'm going to say. I did not hate this. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was that bad. If it came on TV on, I don't watch TV. Is the FX channel still around? They show, crappy action movies. If it came on in the background, I wouldn't change the channel. I didn't hate this at all.
Weirdly, I agree with you, but I think for a different reason.
My slightly less general reaction is similar to Aaron, but specifically that I think it had a very slow, a very not fun, first 2/3, and then the last third actually I kind of enjoyed enough that it could potentially make up for it. Mm-hmm. And similar to Aaron talking about his dad, if you were a 17-year-old in the 80s or 90s, maybe you'd like this.
Yeah.
I actually think if you were in 8th grade in the year 2007 and you watched Naruto and Inuyasha every chance you got, mm-hmm. you could maybe convince that version of Zach that he thought this movie was pretty alright. So maybe it's just for a different era. I'm speaking of, actually, this is from 2005. So that's if I watched this when it came out, I might have actually liked this. I just realized because this is from 2005. That's a weird feeling. Okay. If I watch this not in theaters, but when it hit DVD or whatever.
Let's do a synopsis, because I think I need a synopsis.
Okay, Into the Sun.
Into the Sun.
I need to think for a second. Into the Sun opens with the opening scene from Tropic Thunder. And that does not factor into the plot at all, as far as I can tell. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It sort of does. A character from the opening scene does come back later. In a totally different role in the narrative. He exists in the opening scene, but the fact that he has this prior relationship with Seagal from the opening scene of the movie factors in not at all to the story. Okay. It is just the same character from that previous scene. It could have been a new character introduced halfway through this movie, and it wouldn't have changed anything, but he is in the opening scene for some reason.
I'm inclined to agree with you because I didn't even realize that it was the same guy coming back later.
We learned nothing in this opening sequence at all.
Yeah, they are in...
Myanmar.
Is it Myanmar? Okay.
They're elephants.
But again, this doesn't factor later. Really, the movie starts after a very long title sequence that really seems to be stretching out for time.
Okay. Did anybody notice during this opening sequence the music loops?
Yeah. No, I swear, I think they did this title sequence in just 2 minutes, and they're like, we need to stretch it out a bit, make it feel worth it.
The opening title sequence music is on a loop.
Yeah.
It just starts over.
And it's just meaningless, vaguely American understanding of Japanese graphics, art, that's all it is.
And Yakuza tattoos.
Yeah. So okay, we need to We are not
Let's
going to
get
spend this much time on the description of this.
Quick plot synopsis, and then we can dive into our thoughts, because I think we all have a lot to say.
This plot synopsis,
so much to say.
I'm going to rush through because a lot of this, I'm just like, my mind is flowing right through it. The governor of Tokyo is assassinated.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, by the way.
That ends up not mattering very quickly.
No, not really.
Again, like both opening scenes don't actually matter. But the FBI asks the CIA's Tokyo office to investigate the killing because they think the Yakuza involved. And so the CIA sends a guy that doesn't speak Japanese at all, and Steven Seagal. That's they say, I need you to send a guy. And he goes, I think I know a guy. And I can't figure out which one's supposed to be the guy because neither one of these is the guy. I feel bad because it's just a bunch of stuff happens. There's like an up and coming kind of Yakuza guy that's trying to like take over, like, make a bunch of money selling drugs. So he's
heroin,
like teaming up with the Chinese triads, but like the kind of more older school Yakuza, they're like not a fan of this. Steven Seagal's buddy that he's with that doesn't speak any Japanese at all is like a rookie, and Seagal like literally doesn't want to spend any time with him, so they are not even buddies in this movie. Like they see each other twice before the dude dies. Spoiler alert, the dude dies.
And all he tries to do is get rid of him.
Right. He says like, just go recon this, and the guy recons it, and Seagal's like, you didn't recon it the way I would. If you get killed, it's not on me. And then the guy gets killed. They're calling him for this investigation, and then Seagal does not care about this investigation at all, because then his scenes after, like, in the middle are just him proposing, like getting a fiance, this gal who's way too young for him, this Japanese gal that I guess, but they have some history, but he proposes to her. It's dumb. You'll watch movies where they'll say like, you'll read reviews where people say like, oh, these characters have like no on-screen chemistry, and then when I watch them, like, I don't know, like they were, they're acting, but it's like, it wasn't great, but it's fine. These characters have no on-screen chemistry.
No on-screen chemistry, and no scenes prior to the one where they get quote-unquote engaged, where they have any interaction.
They interact like for a total of 10 seconds.
Okay, maybe there was something, but like there's no...
I got to the engagement scene, and I'm like, is this the first he's talking to this girl? I had to go back and find. There were like 2 scenes that were each like 5 seconds each.
That was my thought. I saw this. He says, "Do you accept my proposal?" And she says, "Yes." Well, she doesn't say yes. Something's dubbed over her voice that says yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I thought, who is this woman? Where is this coming from? Why is this happening in the middle of this movie?
Question. I have a question. Are you going to
ask if it was actually dubbed or not?
My version of the movie.
Oh.
Half of this movie is in Japanese. There are no subtitles.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, okay. There was just dialogue. We just don't know. That's fine.
Okay.
But I actually couldn't tell. It was very weird every time she was talking. I couldn't tell if it was like dubbed the entire time.
I went through half of this movie not understanding what anyone was saying.
Was she speaking English or was she speaking Japanese?
She was speaking Japanese the entire time.
Oh. Okay, so our version was definitely dubbed.
Yeah, I had
maybe that was the problem.
Awful actress
for everyone.
I was gonna say that this woman playing his then fiance Kanako Yamaguchi. I was gonna say that she is very bad in this, but I'm sure it's not her fault somehow. I guess I can't really. I'm going to say her voice actress is very bad, but also probably not her fault. Yeah. I assume she was just given like no context lines and just had to
almost all the characters
with, like, no
swap back and forth between Japanese and English a bunch of times, and at weird moments, and half the conversations are one person speaking English and another person speaking Japanese, but they're still having a conversation with one another.
It's like Star Wars logic. It's like when Han Solo talks to Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, but it doesn't... You have, like, sometimes where Steven Seagal speaks English for an entire conversation, and then sometimes he speaks Japanese for an entire conversation. And he might be speaking English to someone else who's speaking Japanese, or he might be speaking Japanese to someone else who's speaking English. And it just didn't really make sense. It
sounds like potentially there's differences with different versions. Were you watching the Crackle version or something, Aaron?
I was watching the version you can get on Amazon Prime.
Oh, okay.
And... I didn't notice any dubbing in this movie.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe the version that I have is bad because there was a lot of dubbing.
From as far as I could tell, there was no dubbing in the version that I saw.
Oh, interesting. So do you just have no idea what like his fiance said at any point in this movie?
Never.
Oh.
So no. So this is my experience.
This is
of the
interesting.
Movie. My experience of the plot of this film was like, anytime something happened that I didn't understand, I just like assumed that happened in a scene that took place entirely in Japanese or
Fair.
Chinese. Like there are 4 languages spoken throughout this movie.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't just say Japanese because I don't know. I'm
most of it is
ignorant.
Japanese. I would say like half of this movie takes place in Japanese. Unlike previous Seagal films, where like there are a bunch of people who speak a common language which is not English, and they all just choose to speak English while there are no English speakers in the room, which is weird. This one plays it a little bit more authentic and says if there's nobody in this room who speaks English, well then let's just speak whatever our local language is. Except the version available to me on Amazon Prime, there are no subtitles, no dubbing. Everything is in like the original language.
The version that Hans and I at least had subtitles and had dubbing. The subtitles were wrong a lot of times.
Yeah.
No there was never a single word of subtitles throughout the entire film. So
oof.
We had very different viewing experiences here.
So whenever anything happened, I thought I have no idea what's going on in the scene. My brain just assumed, well, that must have been explained in one of the scenes.
To be fair, with the dubbing and subtitles, I was still for like the first 2/3 of this movie, just like, do I know what's happening in the scene? I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
I was hitting the flow
cowboy
state
hat.
pretty heavy in this one.
Good to hear. But that's why like I'm gonna skip over a lot of this. He proposes to this gal, then she's killed. Sorry, very sad.
Which I was kind of surprised, actually.
I wasn't.
Yeah,
Surprised?
Like a lot of things in this movie, one of the biggest things that I have to say, it kind of happened for no reason.
Oh yeah.
So
it was that they wanted like revenge on the.
Well, it was done by my favorite character in this movie.
Was it that
Cowboy Hat Yakuza guy? I don't know anybody's name.
I did like Cowboy Hat, dude.
I don't know anybody's name. He's just Cowboy Hat Yakuza guy.
Except, I do know that Steven Seagal's character's name was Travis. Because why? Hey, everyone, I'm your middleest Seagal character, Travis. But basically, now Seagal's like, okay, my partner died. I didn't really care. My fiance's dead. Now I'm mad. So I'm going to team up with this guy whose family was killed, but I don't think he's a CIA operative or anything. I think he's just like a tattoo artist or something.
Yeah, he does the tattoos for the Yakuza.
Oh, okay.
But he's also like formally trained in swordplay.
Everybody
is. Just assume everyone is a trained killer.
But assume that Seagal is actually the best because he's the best at the swords.
He takes a couple hits in this movie, which I was surprised actually.
He does, but he also gets gassed up.
I thought that we were in an era of Seagal where he's no longer allowed to be injured. But I was wrong, and I was happily surprised that a couple times in this movie, he does take a hit. He does bleed a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, that happens. He still has people, like, who have been living in Japan their entire lives telling him about how much cooler he is and, like, how much better at, like, doing this stuff he is than, like, any of them because he grew up here when he was a kid.
Yeah. He's a much better Japanese citizen than anyone who actually grew up there.
So they go to raid the bad guys' compound, which is in a temple. This former student of was it Seagal? Yeah, one of Seagal's former students also shows up to like help them, like, you know, just in the nick of time to save the tattoo guy. The tattoo guy gets then shot, and Seagal kills like the final boss. Well, first he kills Cowboy Hat guy.
He does kill Cowboy Hat guy
in a
pretty brutal fashion.
Head of New Yakuza.
Pretty brutal, but also really stupid fashion.
Yeah, like just kind of bonking him on, not like cutting through his head, but bonking him on the cowboy hat, like on his head with the sword, and then taking like this hair clip from his dead fiance, because that's how he knows the guy killed his fiance. Anyway, it's stupid. And then he has a sword fight with this guy who's, you know, taking over, you know, Neo Yakuza, kills him, of course, and then they just leave. And then this gal from the FBI, I want to say, or CIA.
Yeah.
CIA. This gal, she like organizes the team where she's called in, and they just like clean it up by actually making it a lot dirtier. They just like spray blue goo on everything. So there's no fingerprints, no DNA. And they say, whoever did this, they're good. Like, perfect, clean job.
Sure.
I thought they were gonna like blow it up, or
I thought they were gonna light
ground.
everything on fire. Nope.
I thought there were like 100 things they could do that make more sense than spraying blue goo, but that's what they
because spraying blue goo didn't make any sense, they had to have a scene where some other cops or somebody come in later, and the scene serves as the entire purpose of it is just for one guy to like put his fingers in this goo and say, this was a good job, no fingerprints, and then that scene's over.
This is a small detail, but we're saying they're spraying blue goo, and listener, you may be picturing like a spray pattern. It's more like when you get the Windex and you turn it to the jet. It's not the spray. Like they're spraying it down with blue goo, but they can't just like and hit a wall. They have to go like inch by inch. They have to like drizzle this is taking hours of every
like
single body weapon.
Like it's
yeah,
tight.
No, it looks like an exterminator spraying for bugs or someone spraying for weeds. It's super weird.
Yeah.
We're talking way too much about the blue goo scene. Shut up, move on.
It doesn't matter at all. The blue goo doesn't matter. You could have skipped that whole scene. Nothing would have changed.
I would not be sitting
a
at the end
lot
of the movie
like like that though. So much.
When are they
going to
send the people to spray the goo on the temple? Where was that scene? But that's the CIA's professional cleaning crew, apparently. I do like the fun detail about that. One more thing about the blue goo. I like that they say something like, okay, like, you gotta do it quick and perfect or something, and like the van, like the fake like
Fast
thing
and
van they have is called Quick and Perfect or whatever. Fast and Beautiful, yes, you know the drill. Fast and Beautiful, and it's called like the fake company is Fast and Beautiful. That was kind of fun. Anyway, they're mourning the dead people, like his dead fiance. Seagal is like hanging out in the park where like he proposed to her, and like the sky turns orange and like the sun sets and he like walks into the sun, and the scene goes like way harder than it has any right to. It's like just insanely bodacious at the end. And I was gonna make a comment about like wow, craziest like bodacious. It fucking shreds, dude. I have no idea why. I was gonna make a comment like, is this like the best like final shot of a Skull movie ever? But then it's not the final shot. He's in his car and someone, he picks up the phone and they're like, guess who? And the movie ends. But I don't know if this is just me, but I'm like, okay, but who? There's nobody's voice in this movie I know enough. Am I supposed to know who that is?
Okay. So I think I did totally get the scene.
Into the Sun too.
And I kind of liked it. I knew exactly who it was because throughout this entire movie, there were only like 3 characters who spoke English, so I knew their voices really well. That last voice was CIA Agent Block, who was like the handler for this whole operation, played by William Atherton, who you may recognize as the EPA agent from Ghostbusters.
Oh, wait, like Peck? Walter Peck?
Walter Peck.
Oh, I did not recognize
so
him
this
at
whole
all.
like throughout the first like 3/4 of this movie, I'm like, that they got a guy who looks a lot like Walter Peck. Like, this is amazing.
I didn't recognize him at all.
That they got someone who looks like almost exactly like Walter Peck. And so I looked it up, and nope, it is actually.
Okay, well, I'm glad you got it, because I was like, oh, that's kind of like a wild shot to end on, and then it's like in his car with his phone, and I'm like, I don't know, am I supposed to know who this is by voice alone? I don't care enough.
He didn't get a whole lot of screen time, so you don't hear his voice a lot, but if his words are the very small number of words throughout this whole movie that you understand, I latched onto them like immediately.
That's fair.
So I recognized his voice immediately.
And that's the end of the movie, is that he says, Walter Peck says, guess who? That's the payoff.
Yeah.
They're setting up Into the Sun too.
Yeah.
Sure. Did they make a sequel to this?
No.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I would watch a sequel to this. It's got promise.
So
Does it?
I think it does, honestly.
I don't think it does, and the only reason I don't think it does is because this was such a nothing movie for me. I didn't care. It was so boring. It's just
you need to watch the version that I watched.
Maybe that's the
where you don't understand any of the words. You're not trying to make sense of anything.
Maybe I was trying to focus too much on the dialogue, but everything that I watched this afternoon was like, this happens for no reason, and then it goes to another scene that happens for no reason, then it goes to another scene that happens for no reason, and then he gets engaged for no reason, and then his partner dies for no reason, and then he fights the bad guy for no reason, and they display blue goo all over everything for no reason.
Okay, he fights the bad guy because he killed his fiance. There's one reason for one thing.
The bad guy didn't kill his. He fights the cowboy hat guy because cowboy hat guy killed his fiance, but that doesn't have anything to do with why he's raiding the complex.
Hans, you have to understand that. To be fair, my understanding of like the last third of this movie was just that it's like the Archer Rampage episode. Like I know, like literally, like he finds out his fiance dies. His reaction is very muted because it's Seagal. He's just kind of like, oh, That's kind of
It's not even
I guess.
muted. There is no reaction. They tell him
He
this
doesn't
woman
react.
died, and he just stares into the camera with the same blank half squint
But in my
that he
head,
does
they tell
all the
him-
time.
So many
But in my
thoughts.
head, they tell him that she dies, and I go, Rampage! And I just picture like the 2-parter Rampage episode from Archer.
I have so many thoughts about this movie, and I don't know how to organize them. I'm struggling to think about. I'm struggling to express all my thoughts about this movie, because I can't really organize them into a way that makes sense. So I just want to talk about like, okay, let's start on a meta level, because we've been talking about how Seagal has been just like this emotionless actor basically this entire time.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think he acts better in Japanese. My experience of this movie is that he is a better actor
Zach's facial expressions are
when he is
pretty on
speaking
point
Japanese.
right now.
This is
I
the
think-
most emotion that I've seen from him since Out for Justice. It's not a whole lot, but it's much more. Like, he actually yells in this movie.
Zach, Aaron, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that.
I'm standing by my position.
I think it's just more obvious when he's acting poorly in a language you understand.
That
I don't
might
think
be
he's
a
a
huge
better
part of
actor in
it.
Japanese. I think if he's speaking Japanese and I don't understand Japanese, maybe
That might
helps
be a
cover
huge
up
part
some
of it.
It's we can't actually hear the bad inflection.
Well,
Right.
so like this.
Except,
happens
okay,
in-
I will say though, maybe my favorite Seagal line delivery was in Japanese. So, okay, actually, no, I'm wrong. Aaron, you have a point. You're onto something here.
Okay, thank you.
Because there's a point when the gal shows up at the end to like help him out with the sword fight, and he's just like, "I told you not to come here, baka!"
Baka.
Like he just like says baka, so frustrated.
Baka na.
And I'm like, okay, we have full weeb Steven Seagal. We
Okay,
have weeb
so-
Seagal. Like
Okay.
that is my favorite like thing he's ever said.
I'm gonna be vulnerable here. Let's talk about how I was thinking about anime this entire time.
Yeah,
What?
I did at one point think this is like the Steven Seagal anime. I did have like this.
So there's a
Yeah.
phenomenon. Everyone who like watches anime and things and like cares about anime. There's this big argument about like subtitles
I don't know
versus
who they
dubbing,
are.
subs versus dubs, right?
Yeah.
I am very much in the category of subs. I much prefer subtitles over dubbing,
Okay.
and the reason for that is that it's
For those not in the debate, Aaron is choosing what I generally see as the quote-unquote like correct answer amongst the weeb community.
yeah. So because you maintain the original Japanese audio, so you get a lot more of like the texture of what they're saying, but there's
You
also
get the emotion.
you get more of the emotion. There's also just the fact that when something is expressed in a language that you don't understand, and all you get is the like emotionality and the inflection of things,
Mm-hmm.
then you just kind of naturally fill in all the blanks. And so in my experience, it almost always, I should say, feels more dramatic being in a language I don't
yeah.
understand.
No, I would agree with her. So I'm just going to tweak what you said initially
Yeah.
then, because I agree with what you're saying. Instead of Steven Seagal as a better actor in Japanese versus like English, just that you prefer Steven Seagal sub, not dub.
I
you
do.
prefer- but, like, the
I
dub
don't
is
have
just him
subs
speaking
at all,
English.
so I had neither.
But like in general, like for the reason people prefer sub over dub, you almost like just prefer him in Japanese not being able to fully understand him than like
Yeah.
him speaking English.
Because my
anymore.
my
And you
brain
can't
was
Because
just
when he
his
speaks
broken
English, he's saying
lines.
nonsense anyway. He's
Like
saying
my-
like nonsense in like a weird voice anyway.
I was giving like my brain was automatically giving the benefit of the doubt.
Right. Steven
Seagal.
Seagal is his own 4Kids dub. Steven Seagal is the 4Kids dub of Steven Seagal.
Like so like we were talking about Cowboy Hat Guy, which I want to talk about. Cowboy Hat Guy, he was my favorite character in this movie by far. He was kind of awesome actually. But when Seagal kills Cowboy Hat Guy for killing his fiance, Seagal actually like yells, which I don't think we've seen him like
We've heard him, I
actually-
think at one point Hans pointed out that he goes like, "Erp!" But like that's the closest he's come to yelling.
But, like we don't see him emote, and
Yeah.
I don't know why, but watching this movie, and this may be way off base, I just got the impression that he was more comfortable working with Japanese actors and working in a Japanese environment than in Hollywood.
That wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I do...
Like, he just looked more comfortable.
We touched on this briefly. Like, so this is not in real life. He did not grow up in Japan, Tokyo, Japan, as a kid. He was born in Lansing, Michigan. But he did, like, spend a chunk of his life in Japan.
Yeah.
I was kind of a bit surprised that it took this long. It took until 2005 for him to have a movie like, set in Japan that was actually filmed in Japan and featuring, like, a Japanese cast.
I mean, this is, what did we say, the 17th or 18th episode? And we're finally... a movie set in Japan.
I was surprised it took this long. My guess, my completely unfounded, absolutely false speculation is that he was just like waiting for all of the family he abandoned, all of his kids to turn 18, so he wouldn't because if he went back to Japan earlier, they make him pay like child support. I don't think that's actually the truth, but that's like my headcanon. But no, I get what you're saying. I don't think at any point while I was watching this, I came to that conclusion my own, like, oh, he's so much better in Japanese, but like...
Well, I guess I should phrase it this way.
Sense.
I had a better time watching Seagal act in Japanese than in English.
I mean, to be fair, back in the On Daily Ground episode, I said that his best acting was when he was covered head to toe in like a fireproof suit and you just saw his eyebrows. So I think that's kind of in the same line.
But I think this movie also falls into... At the end of this movie, I thought, if you replaced Seagal with a Japanese actor, would anything have changed?
The movie would be so much better. That's what would have changed.
Like,
oh my god, a mile
so like
better.
the inciting incident.
Are you kidding me? It would actually be a pretty decent movie.
I was thinking that at the end of this movie, like, okay, if instead of the FBI, which has absolutely no jurisdiction in Japan, instead of the FBI calling the CIA, which also doesn't have jurisdiction here on this particular case, to solve the murder of a governor by the Yakuza, so that's a Japanese gang killing a Japanese politician, why is any American involved in this in any way? Like, there's no reason.
Okay,
the same reason the Yakuza is using American money in all of their accounting scenes.
Oh, they did have one scene, though, where they did talk about exchanging yen for American money. They very briefly.
Did they really?
Yes.
Okay, well then I guess they wrote it in somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So I might be able to shed some light on this.
Okay, good, please.
And a little bit of research that I did. I'm not going to guarantee that this is why.
Because I was confused. Because you could have just made this a Japanese agency and it would have been the same movie, but better.
Yeah. Oh, the thing is, when I was like I said, if I watched this like when it came out when I was in like middle school or something, I probably would, if it was that, if it didn't have Skull in it, absolutely, I would have been all over this movie.
Mm-hmm.
in those years. But I'm not sure if this is why. But I saw when I looked up this movie that a guy named Trevor Miller wrote the script for this.
Yeah.
And it ended up
along with the studio determined. Other people.
Well, so I'm getting to.
Okay.
It was too similar to the script for another movie called The Yakuza.
Oh, okay.
That he wrote this and they just said, dude, we would have to like pay for the rights to this movie. It would be like a remake of this movie from 1974. It's that similar. So then Steven Seagal teamed up with a man named Joe Halpin, who was in real life a former undercover narcotics detective, rewrote the script. So that's why it has like multiple writers on it.
Oh, okay.
Someone did an initial draft. It was too close. So they literally just wanted to do rewrites to make it less similar to this other thing. So they wouldn't have to pay for the rights to remake this.
Now I want to watch this other movie and see how it's just like this, but better.
Yeah, no, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the movie called The Yakuza from 1974. Like, it stars Robert Mitchum, Ken Takakura, and Brian Keith. Like, I'm down to watch this. I'm actually somewhat interested.
Okay.
But I think that maybe that explains some of the weirdness, because then they're like, okay, how do we like bring Seagal? Like, of course Seagal's involved, so he has to be like a CIA guy. So then, like, that makes no sense. But like, whatever. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if some of those changes came about during that rewrites. But I haven't seen the original. I haven't seen this movie to do a comparison. I can't fully say if that's what. But if there is weirdness with this script, it did have a weird script writing process.
Well, that makes sense. Not that I heard most of the script, but
weirdly enough, it was theatrically released in Japan and then directed DVD in the United States.
Okay,
so actually,
I was wondering
this was directed DVD for us.
I was wondering that actually because this was significantly better produced than previous direct-to-video films that
like this felt like a real movie.
It felt like a real movie, like a low budget movie, especially when you see like the scant CGI that happens.
Like there's this shot of like a satellite in space for like half a second.
Yes.
And like all this like Spy Kids looking like weird, like when they first show off the entire city of Tokyo, they just keep doing this like weird spy scanning stuff.
Yeah,
it's so goofy. I love it.
Like the whole city's divided into hexes and things. But it's stuff that makes no sense. No, but it just felt much better produced than a direct-to-video movie, and there were just elements about this that felt like it was meant for a theatrical release. I felt like, oh, this is like meant for a theatrical release. It doesn't feel like direct-to-video. Mm-hmm. But it is interesting to hear that it was theatrically released in one place, but not another. That makes a whole lot of sense to me.
Right.
Yeah,
so
it does.
It's
of the direct-to-video stuff we've seen so far, I think this is the best one.
Oh, I don't think it's even close. This is the best one, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have Dunoir in it, but I mean, it's okay. It has Cowboy Hat Guy.
It does have Dunoir. I think technically I actually went through my ranked list earlier today. I was kind of like reevaluating a little bit, and I still think technically I have like one or two direct-to-videos higher than this because I have like the Patriot up there because the Patriot is like very bad, but kind of like
at least semi well done.
Well, there were like weird parts of it that just I in particular like enjoyed, but I'm not gonna say it was actually good. This was the vast majority of what we've watched in like recent years. This was not recent years, in recent like weeks. It's been better.
I really just want him to stop starting his lines with "so listen." I don't know why that bothers me so much, but it really does. Every single line, "so listen, so listen." I hate it.
You know what I would like very much like him to stop?
Existing?
I would like him to stop writing scripts where people just tell him how great he is. Because I had a little bit of hope towards the start. He's shopping. He goes to a store which is called Japan Sword registered. Japan Sword registered trademark.
Yeah.
While he is shopping at Japan Sword registered trademark, he is speaking to this like older. Right. He's speaking to this man, and he says, and they're like, "Ooh, this sword is so nice. It's like so expensive." And Seagal says, like, "I would pay, so much more to have, just a lesson from you." And I'm like, "Oh, Seagal, his character being a bit humble. I have a little hope." And then the next line, the guy goes, "No, because like you're the absolute best that there ever is, and you're the greatest teacher of the sword." And I'm like, like if you don't
see, I missed all that because that scene was in Japanese. I thought they were just talking about a sword.
Did you? No, it's Seagal, of course, being told that he's the greatest and actually,
okay. Well, I mean, I should have assumed
using, like katanas than like anyone in Japan.
I mean, that's a safe assumption in any Seagal scene. That
this even definitely.
And soon after that, you might not miss this one too. Someone says like, "Oh, what a surprise!" Like when they see him for the first time, they say, "Oh, what a surprise! You look younger and taller." And I said,
I forgot about
that was
you need to okay, like shut the absolute up, please. And yeah, so that's what I would like to have stop. Is
Aaron, honestly,
how cool he is.
I wish I saw the movie that you saw.
Yeah,
it sounds like it was a better time.
It was a fun time.
I'm with you on this.
I thought it was pretty fun. No, there was one moment early on that just he goes to Chinatown in Tokyo and meets with like an old I assumed a mentor. They're speaking Chinese throughout this whole scene, so I don't know what exactly they're talking about. I assume a mentor. He vanishes partway through the movie, by the way. But he stands as like this old guy in Chinatown. He's Chinese living in Tokyo, and he stands as like a go-between between the Yakuza and the Triads. He can like go between the two.
Yeah.
That guy? He has like a granddaughter or a niece or someone who walks out of the back room, and this old Chinese guy says, "See, she's all grown up." And this girl goes, "Master," and hugs Seagal. No. Yeah. Absolutely not.
Oh, I forgot about that.
No, it's even worse because Seagal says she's gotten big. And I was just like, no! So I'm glad at least that this random fiance got introduced halfway through because I was very very
was
unhappy
worried
with the assumption I made about where this movie was going to go.
I was very worried.
Yeah. No, that was awful.
And
Man, when it gets to the point where you're thankful for the random love interest to be introduced in the middle of the movie.
oof, dodged a bullet.
Because like he said that, I just went, no, you leave her alone. That there is a child. You're a creepy old man. Get out of here, Seagal.
Oh man.
Yeah. It was pretty rough. But yeah, I mean, I think my viewing of this movie was pretty enjoyable because I mean, like, again, I understood only like maybe a third of the actual words spoken.
No, you probably had the most enjoyable experience out of all of us.
Yeah.
So like I can talk about background stuff and like I think fun little cultural things that were thrown in here. So like I noticed that there were a couple of characters who like constantly had like earbuds in. So this movie was made in 2005. The iPod was released in 2001. So it was like it was a pretty new thing. And there are a couple of like the new Yakuza, the young guys, like always have earbuds in, and they're like missing conversations and stuff. So like a couple times,
is this also
one of the Yakuza bosses will come over and like rip the earbuds out of their ears.
Is that also for the same reason why there's this one random scene where these two dudes are talking, like two of the Yakuza guys are talking, and they keep just cutting back to this like sharper image, like robot dog, like for no reason?
Oh, because it was 2005.
Like they say something and the dog reacts.
Like I remember, so we're getting to the point now where like I have solid memories of this time in history. I wanted one of those.
I know, but I'm just like they keep cutting. I guess it's just
like I was 11
now in 2020.
I wanted
in 2023. They keep again. I probably when this movie came out would have thought it was cool. Oh, hey, there's the sharper image robot dog that I want. But they keep getting back to it. I'm like, the thing doesn't actually understand and respond to you. Like, why are you having it react to these guys?
It had nothing to do with the scene either.
And they like, if they just cut to it once, I'd be like, okay, yeah, it's in 2005 and this was like cool at the time. But they cut back to it like 5 times. And it's not a real dog.
I did like, as much as I still didn't really like this movie. It was okay. I like you said, I wouldn't turn it off if it came on like cable TV. But for me, this was a pretty like nothing movie. It happened to me, and that was fine. I was in the flow state. I think if I had watched the movie you watched, I would agree with you. But unfortunately, I didn't. The one positive thing I have to say is that all of the Yakuza guys' outfits were phenomenal.
I was just about to say one of my notes, all these Yakuza guys have crazy drip. Like
every single one was better than the last, and they all kept improving as they changed throughout the movie.
Yeah, throughout the movie, like all the like new Yakuza guys, all the like young up and coming Yakuza guys have a new outfit in like every scene. Each one is a little bit crazier than the one before it.
Yeah,
they are quirked up Yakuza boys goated with the sauce, 100%.
Like the main young Yakuza guy, like late in the movie, he steps out of a car. He's wearing a white suit with like a fishnet shirt and a fur coat over everything, like a fur coat hanging off his shoulders. He doesn't have his arms through the sleeves because he's too cool for that. It's just this massive fur coat hanging off his shoulders. Oh my gosh! And he's always smoking a cigarette.
Wasn't even an outfit, but there's these two dudes that gun someone down, and like one of them has like a mohawk, and one of them has like spiked hair going in like all directions.
Yeah.
Can I talk about some of the things that there are some random things that stuck out to me that I liked in a similar way.
Go for it.
I liked, this was the second time a PlayStation 2 has appeared in a Steven Seagal film. Fun facts.
Yeah.
Where?
In the assassin hideout, the hitmen that the Yakuza hire, they have like an apartment that's like all spray painted and crappy. 2. They just hang out there and play
weirdly
PlayStation.
enough, actually,
I completely missed the PS2.
They seem to be accurate so far. Every time one shows up, I'm like, oh, that's actually like a PS2 game. Like sometimes, they have them holding a PS2 controller and then they're playing like an Atari 2600 game or something.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, a small attention to details like, oh, the guy in like the prison in Half Past Dead was actually playing like a golfing game that was like, I think was like really on the PS2. Yeah. Anyway, there were these 2 random kills that like deserve to be in a better movie almost. There's one where this guy, like, he, like, chops off his pinky, and they're, like, having him join or whatever, and then they're, like, actually, it's like, JK, we're gonna kill you.
I have a bigger
I have a problem with that.
Okay.
But the part that I like is when they kill him, like, they're in this, like, office, like, this, with, like, glass walls and stuff, and they don't, like, show him die, and the camera, like, pulls back and pans behind this frosted glass, and he gets shot, so you just see, like, the blood, like, hitting the frosted glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, like, weirdly artsy. The problem is right before that, when he's cutting off his pinky, I just sent a screenshot. He very clearly, when they show him cutting off his pinky, you just see his like knuckle. Like they didn't even put enough blood to cover it, so you can tell he very clearly did not cut off a pinky. So like one of the like cheapest, like crappiest shots is then followed by one of the coolest ones. And they do something again later on during like this final raid, on like the temple. Seagal's like in a room. This guy like stabs the sword through the paper wall. Seagal like grabs the guy's arm and then stabs the sword back through it and like hits him in the gut. So again, you like just get the blood splattered on this like translucent wall without actually seeing it. And those are actually pretty cool kills.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. So like basically,
I get on board with that.
I thought like the whole final castle assault was actually pretty rad.
Everything, everything up until the guy, the main boss, the tattoo guy walks into the main boss's room with a sword, and the main boss just shoots him.
I thought that was really funny.
Admittedly, no, that was really funny. That was good. I like that. You're walking into the guy's office with a sword, and he just shoots you. Like, I like that. And then Seagal walks into the same office with a sword, and he doesn't shoot him. And then they have a sword fight, and that irritates me.
Well, okay, that's dumb, but I'm with Aaron on this one, because, like, this is how I realized just how easy I am to please. Like, if I watched this in, like, middle school, I would have totally thought it was cool, because he, like, we've had several sword fights. I think, like, the first one I ever saw was in Marked for Death. Like, we haven't really been impressed with any of these sword fights. I'm not gonna say I was impressed with this one, but, like, the actual, like, the final kill, when he takes out the big bad, and he just, like, slices the dude, and just, like, a jet stream of blood comes out, I was like, actually,
cool.
Okay. That was well done. That was cool. That was just bloody and fun and goofy, and that's, if this movie was more of that, I would like this movie.
Oh, and there's, like, during the castle assault, Mai Ling, played by Pace Wu, who I think did a pretty good job in this movie. I really liked her character.
Yeah. She's in this movie for very little, so...
Yeah, she's in very little of this movie, but she shows up at the very end to help in the final assault, like in the final storming of the castle. She's the one to whom Seagal says, "Baka," even though she's Chinese, but whatever. And so there's one scene where she goes into a room, and there are, like, 3 or 4 goons in there, including, like, one of the top dog, like one of the right-hand man. So the main bad guy, the main Yakuza bad guy, has 2 guys. There's cowboy hat guy, and there's, like, Japanese businessman guy.
Yes. Okay.
With the glasses. And she goes into this room, and there's the businessman guy with the glasses and, like, 2 or 3 other goons. And then the fight, like, the camera is above, so you have, like, this square box of the room, and it's her going around the room, and, like, not the whole fight. It would have been cool if it were the whole fight, but I understand it's not high art film, whatever. It's not Kill Bill.
It's not John Wick Chapter 4.
But it's not John Wick Chapter 4. But parts of this fight scene are filmed from above, so you see everybody moving, and I thought that was just really well done. It was not a perfect execution of it, but pretty good.
It was. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing, because it, for whatever reason, to me, that shows that whoever choreographed that scene actually had a good idea of where to put everybody and how to move them in the right at the right time.
Like, the choreographer was talking to the cinematographer, was talking to the director, like, everyone.
Yeah, and it just shows that there was a lot more going on behind the scenes, other than, like, the quick cutaways from shot to shot to shot to shot of, like, really close up action sequences that we're used to with Seagal, because he can't do that stuff.
And weirdly enough, I can't say why I like this, because we've had in the past, like, characters that are just, like, absolute pervs, and every time I'm like, this is gross. But the dude with the glasses is, like, a freak. Like, he's just, like, a weird sicko perv, and it was the funniest thing. So you might have missed all this dialogue. You probably didn't get this.
I missed
the whole
all
time
of
she's
this.
fighting the dude. Like, she,
I did. this characterization of glasses guy.
Okay, well, at least with the version we had, she walks in with the sword, and he's just like, "Oh, you're, like, gonna turn me on or something." And they're, like, fighting, and the whole time he's just like, "Ooh, maybe a little kiss." Like, he's just being, like, a creepy, like, perv dude the entire time.
No,
and it's so funny.
That.
Like, I was actually having a good time with that whole fight, including, like, weird creepy perv, like, businessman. But I just realized you didn't get any of that. Oh my gosh, it was, like, my favorite part of the fight.
I mean, I think that's a fine price to pay for not having to hear the rest of the dialogue. It would have been weird if that one scene were dubbed or subbed.
They want to make sure you get that
just
one.
Original.
Because I'm gonna, like, type out and, like, send you a transcript, because I forget exactly what he's saying, but it's just a bunch of stuff like that. He's just like, ooh, you're a spicy one.
Oh, when Seagal the first room, they walk into the entrance room and there are two goons like guarding the front door. Seagal cuts a guy's arm off.
Oh, okay.
Just like
that I really
jet
liked.
stream of blood coming out. And he's like screaming for a whole
and they just
minute.
they see him screaming. They just like keep walking. Like they don't even do like the and stab him in the back after he's down. Like they just like leave him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the guy. Was it Out for Justice? The guy that gets his leg blown clean off by a shotgun. They don't kill him either. They just let him keep rolling around screaming in the background.
Blew up my leg.
Yeah.
No, I
did like that.
I would not want to rewatch this movie, but I would skip ahead and like rewatch this final scene in full sincerity.
It was really good.
Yeah.
I actually very much enjoyed it.
Out of Reach. I described that movie just like if I were to describe it as one sentence, I would say it's just dumb jerks doing nothing that matters until you get one passable gunfight and then an incredibly weird pseudo samurai showdown with a chest-living pedophile. This isn't quite that, but this is like just dumb jerks doing nothing that matters for no reason until you get actually a pretty solid like final raid compound battle and a better samurai showdown with a guy who I'm not sure his feelings on chess or pedophilia, but like a pretty cool like samurai showdown between them.
Probably negative on
imagine.
both, honestly,
like
just from what I know about this character. Chess is for nerds and pedophilia absolutely not.
But then they actually have a much better sword fight. So this is the better version of Out of Reach. I guess. In a way. It feels like we're gonna hit the point where a lot of these movies like are the same plot. This is, Out of Reach in Poland, this is Out of Reach in Japan, this is Out of Reach in Russia. Like, maybe they're gonna be the same thing. So get used to it. They'll just be different flavors of the same thing.
I want to, and I'm sorry I don't have timestamps for this. I guess if I really wanted to, I could go looking for a timestamp. There was one shot that I thought, okay, just freeze frame this, and I can build a movie around it, which is a much more interesting movie, and a much more beautiful movie. And it's when Seagal first walks into the pachinko casino. The lighting is totally different. Mostly it has to do with the lighting. Seagal is walking directly toward the camera. He's surrounded by these pachinko machines. And there's this really harsh overhead lighting that is just radically different from the rest of the movie. And it feels so oppressive and sad. Like it could be a shot from a drama about an American living in Japan and dealing with like Yakuza stuff and violence that he's experiencing.
I thought it was going to go a different direction. Like, there's going to be some lost in translation, like a drama about like a guy like losing love. But in your version of the movie, he still fights the Yakuza, which I appreciate.
Like, you could keep a lot of elements from it, but I want it to be shot like that one scene. Just this one shot of Seagal walking directly toward the camera under this really, really harsh lighting in this pachinko casino run by the Yakuza.
Yeah, there's like random...
It was
like, actually
one really beautiful frame, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it's like the kills that I pointed out. Like, there's some parts actually look good. Like, the sword going into the ceiling. Like, there was competent work in the director of photography, like, choreographer. Speaking of pachinko, I will also... There is another kill that I really like. It reminds me a lot of the video game Sleeping Dogs. Criminally underrated video game Sleeping Dogs.
I was thinking about Sleeping Dogs a lot during this.
Yeah, well, because, I mean, he's literally fighting the triads. Spoiler alert, one of my, things you should watch instead prompts would just be you should play the game Sleeping Dogs instead. But anyway, at one point he, like, punches a dude, like, into, like, a pachinko or, like, Apache slot machine or something. Or he, like, I can't remember. He punches or kicks or pushes or something. He just, like, throws a guy into, like, the machine. And it, like, starts ringing the noises. And, like, the like, it's, like, the same gag as if you, like, hit a guy into the slot machine. And, like, it starts spitting out the coins. Like, he kicks him into, like, the Apache slot machine and starts, like, spitting out, like, all the balls. And I like that gag. It's actually pretty funny. Because it reminded me a lot of, like, in Sleeping Dogs when you could just get the environmental kills.
Man, I want to go play some Sleeping Dogs.
I would have, if you told me, would you rather watch this movie again or play like an hour and a half of Sleeping Dogs? I don't even care if like you give me the first hour and a half and it's like, the kind of like unskippable tutorial mission. I'll still take Sleeping Dogs. Which, speaking of, the romance, specifically him and his fiance, this was like maybe his most like video gamey feeling movie so far. Because I kept thinking Sleeping Dogs, like in general,
very much like a video game.
But with him and his fiance, it just felt like in one of those games when like like some games have a fully fleshed out romance feature, like, you know, your personas with your friendship meters, your Mass Effects, where, you know, you have all these conversations and build up to it over time. But then there are some games, which admittedly, good game, but Sleeping Dogs does this, where you just like have 3 different potential love interests, and like there isn't really a romance mechanic. You can just go on like dates with them, and it's like 3 missions with like 3 cutscenes in total, and like that's the end of it. Like it's not a fleshed out romance with Emma Stone's character because they were paying for Emma Stone.
You're just told, hey, this is your girlfriend now, and you say,
you
okay,
like meet her,
I guess so.
in like one cutscene, you like show her like your stomping grounds in another cutscene, you like go on a date with her in another cutscene, like that's it. With him and his fiance, it very much felt like that. Like they have one conversation, they have another conversation, and then they have like you get like the propose like button prompt. Like it just felt like a very not fleshed out like romance. They just like threw it in there to have a
he talks to her, and then he gives her the right gift because he like looked up the guide on the wiki.
Yeah, he found out she likes his hair clip that a geisha wore. Like, so that part, like the whole thing felt pretty video gamey in general, but like it felt very video gamey, like with this like video game tier like romance.
It was that was pretty bad. Speaking of his stomping grounds, though, he said he grew up in this neighborhood and this is like his town. He knows all the people here. They're in Tokyo, right? The whole movie takes place in Tokyo. Tokyo is like one of the biggest metropolises. Is that a word?
Yes.
It's one of the biggest in the world.
Yeah.
Massive metropolitan area. Huge city. But that's his town. He knows every single place. They go uptown, they go downtown, they go to the palace on the edge of town, and they go to the like drug place with the fish market on the other edge of town. And there's always something on the edge of town or downtown or in town. And he knows every single one of these places and where everybody works and where to go meet the contacts across all of Tokyo.
And also,
well, it's a Seagal movie.
The funny thing also like is that he like grew up here. It's not like he's been living here for 20 years. He grew up here, so we have to assume that like not only did 8-year-old Seagal know the entire like metropolitan area of Tokyo, but he like knew the criminal like seedy like Yakuza hangouts. It wasn't just like I grew up here and it was rough. It's like from when he was here at age 12, he has these Yakuza contacts.
At one point he meets up at one point with I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was like one of the heads of the Yakuza, one of the old bosses. And the old boss says that he also wants to get rid of this young boss who's causing troubles. Yeah. And they make a bet. And they say, like, who's going to kill him first? And then that doesn't come back up again.
Is that the scene where they drink sake out of the wooden square cups? Okay.
Yeah.
I wondered what was happening there.
Yeah, well, it didn't matter because it doesn't come back up.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I think, Aaron, overall, the only thing that you really truly missed was, like, some, like, funny dialogue during like the final sword fight. Except I'm not sure if you got this one. When he's talking to his like when he's with the gal at the like they're just at this like restaurant, like this karaoke bar or something. But there's like this guy like kind of like a comedian performer on stage.
I loved him. I didn't know
because at one point
he said
he makes a joke like this is RoboCop doing karaoke or something, and he does this like really cool like robot dance. Like it's actually really impressive.
Oh, the way he could move his face.
That guy was amazing.
His eyebrows.
More of him. Oh, but then immediately after that, the very next shot is Seagal sitting at a table with his fiance, and behind him in the background is like this massive fish tank with topless women swimming around in it.
Yeah. But I like the dude doing the robot. He was fun. I assume he was just like he's like a guy who is like a nightclub performer in Japan that they just brought on for the movie because he was really good in that role.
I mean, he was awesome. I want to see more of him.
Yeah,
he was.
By
great.
the way, for everyone listening, this is like a side character that's on screen for like 7 seconds.
Yeah,
best 7 seconds of the movie.
Not even close.
I had no idea what he was saying. I was laughing. Very
I had
successful
the subtitles,
comedian.
I still didn't really fully understand what he was saying, but like I was having a good time.
Can we go back to the cutting off the pinky scene real quick?
Yeah,
I guess.
You mean the rubbing the ketchup on your pinky knuckle scene?
So I you know what? I can even ignore how poorly I shouldn't say poorly done.
No, it was really bad.
But it's obvious.
It's like high school playback.
Well, it kind of stuck out because some elements of this movie are actually quite good.
Yeah, that's fair. I think, but that's not like it's stupid because that's not even my problem with it. My problem with it was that he has this little itty bitty paring knife, and he takes like the very tip the very, very, very tip of it and cuts through his joint and his bone and cuts his tip of his pinky off. You don't have any leverage. The way he was doing it, I can't. It's difficult without having it like right in front of you. But you post a screenshot of it. He touched it with a little itty bitty tip of this knife.
I thought it was fine. Have you ever worked with a high quality knife?
You can't get leverage on a knife like that way. There's no way you can cut through your entire pinky.
I thought it was fine.
There's no way.
They're in like a fish processing plant. Like you can.
I know, but it's like a little tiny little paring knife. You can't get enough leverage. The way he did it, there's no way you can cut through your pinky.
Cuts off his finger in like John Wick 2 or 3. He like grabs a butcher knife and just goes like chops it off. This guy like.
Yeah, but that's a big meat cleaver,
like the way you dice garlic.
Yeah, exactly. And it just I can't get. I didn't even notice how bad the what you're saying, the ketchup packet blood was. I could only think about how you absolutely could not cut through your pinky like that with a knife like that.
Actually, this does remind me though. There was one shot that I thought Hans would like point out that he hasn't pointed out yet. Maybe he just hasn't gone to it yet. But towards the beginning, when they're having Seagal review the security camera footage, just because, like, the classic zoom enhance. I know that's the thing that bothers you.
Oh, but it's not even the classic zoom enhance. He walks in. They're like First of all, he walks up to the crime scene because the CIA has him investigating the death of a governor. It looks like this has happened days ago because the governor's body is gone, but there are still pools of blood in the lobby and there's like caution tape up around them. And they're taking photographs of no body but blood on the floor, which whatever. So he looks up, says, "Oh, there's a security camera. Can you get me that footage?" So they go and look at the security camera as if no one's done that yet. Whatever.
He's the best.
They go and look at the security camera footage, and it's this blurry photo of the guy that shot the governor running out the, or not, either running out the door or he was already on the back of the motorcycle that went out the door. It doesn't matter. And he says, "Now go and zoom in on that gold chain on his neck," or something like that. And you can't even see a gold chain on the guy's neck because the image is so blurry already. And then it's not even like a zoom and enhance scene.
It's like from a different angle.
Yeah, it's an insta cut from blurry image to perfectly clear picture from a different angle of the guy's neck, and you can make out the symbol
like a video
on
game
the chain
around
his
like
neck.
Something like a texture hasn't loaded and it's blurry, but pops in,
and then
like
it pops into place.
You're not even kidding. They're zooming in, and like they do zoom for a bit. Like they have the footage, they're zooming in. It's very blurry. It's getting blurrier, and then just like cut to like a whole other like shot of this necklace in like 8K,
so
like ultra HD, like perfect quality.
So bad.
I was surprised that didn't come up earlier. I'm like, I know that's something that annoys Hans.
Yep. No, it most certainly did.
Well, no, I was just saying, it's weird that we've been talking about this movie for this long, and we have not talked about Seagal's sidekick basically at all.
That's because he doesn't really matter.
He would not be in this movie, and it would be the same movie. Seagal acts like he's not in the movie.
Well, no, I mean, so there are a couple things like that in this movie. Like, what is this? It leads me to a question. What is this movie?
Couldn't tell you.
Like,
nothing.
What,
don't care.
What is it?
It's
actually?
a nothing movie.
Well, no,
like,
it is.
What are the essential moving parts?
It is a nothing movie with a decent boss fight at the end that makes up for it.
Here, more specific, it's not just a nothing movie. It is a movie that basically just was hastily rewritten to not plagiarize another movie. That is what it is, and that is what explains every part that we've talked about so far.
Yeah,
because they're like, oh, we just need to make a movie about like the Yakuza with Seagal in it. Sorry, actually, according to the poster, I don't know if this is on all posters, but at least on the IMDb version of the poster, only one man can stop the Yakuza. I will point out, he does not stop the Yakuza. One of the ending scenes is literally just the induction ceremony of like the old Yakuza guy still getting to be in charge. Like he just stops like this new, angel investor, like, startup,
slightly more
Neo
violent
version of the Yakuza. Yakuza's still around. Only one man can stop the Yakuza, but he does not even actually attempt to stop them.
Oh, but that's okay, because he's friends with the good Yakuza, the old guys.
But that's my take on what the movie is that they're like, I don't know, put out some Yakuza movie, I guess, get Steven Seagal. Maybe Japan will care about his theatrical release.
I don't know, I just felt like
he's wearing a really bad trench coat in this one.
It's a really bad trench coat. It's honestly, I don't know how the costume department let him wear that.
That's what we talked earlier about how all the costumes in this movie are phenomenal, and then you have Seagal who
Also,
stands out
just
because
the
his
worst.
is
Also-
the worst. And it's so obviously different. It doesn't match the theme of it as is usual. It doesn't match the theme of anyone else's costumes.
This would be like the one movie where he can wear like some weird Asian appropriation thing, and it would have made sense.
Yeah, and he just does it. He wears
He
a
wears
leather
like
trench coat.
an American leather trench coat.
Speaking of just a missed opportunity, this isn't with him. This is with the movie poster. I just want to talk about the poster real quick. He's like walking away from like a flaming car.
Oh, please, let's talk about the poster.
So it's Steven Seagal into the sun with like the Japanese like rising sun like flag, you know.
As he's walking away from the sun, but whatever.
Yes.
As he's walking
Well, he's
away
walking
from the
away
sun,
from an
that's
exploding car. I don't think that was ever in the movie. I don't remember like a big car explosion like that. That
No,
doesn't
it never
happen at all.
happened.
Again, continuing the trend of his posters, just depicting things that
I don't
don't
think
happen.
there were any explosions.
But
in this
also,
movie.
he's walking away in the trench coat, and he has a photo. They have photoshopped onto him like that he has this gun slung over his back, which he never uses in the movie. So this is what I'm wondering: is like he literally does have a actually fairly decent amount of time, like. He doesn't just pick up a sword and use it for 5 seconds. He uses a sword for a not insignificant amount of time. How do they not have Steven Seagal with a katana strapped to his back? Like, when they're making this poster, why did they choose to put a gun that doesn't appear in the movie when we've already had 1,000 posters of Seagal with guns?
Why did they...
The selling quote, you know, I don't know who you're selling it to. Aaron's dad. But the thing that would differentiate this, the thing that would like actually kind of like maybe make the poster interesting would be like, oh, Steven Seagal with like katanas, like he's gonna do some sword battles. And I have no idea why that's not the poster. It could be the same exact poster.
What the
with,
poster
like, a
should
sword on
be.
his back instead of this gun.
What the poster should be is just all the young Yakuza guys like leaning on a big desk in their coolest
Actually,
costumes.
what this whole movie should be is just a fashion show of the young Yakuza guys, and there's nobody kills each other. There's no Steven Seagal. There's like no fiance plot or anything. It should just be like young, cool Japanese guys like dressing like really fun. I would watch that movie.
Much better. It's about the young upstart like Yakuza guys fumbling their way through all these assassinations and stuff, hanging out in their like PS2 hideout, trying to figure out how to make it into the big times.
That would be so
like
cute.
that's
I
a
would
much
love
cooler
that so
movie.
Much. That'd be a great movie.
I would even all the same actors.
Absolutely.
I think all
Except
of the like the Japanese actors. I think they did a great job in this. Again, I can't understand the language. That's a big part of it. So I might be a bad judge of their acting skills, but like I thought they did a good job, at least with like the physical
so many different
stuff.
ways.
Because like
even you could tell by their facial expressions, they at the very least they're acting.
What a concept.
they're acting,
and
doing things.
Maybe that's a really terrible way to describe it. I don't mean to sound demeaning. It's I'm comparing it, I guess, to Seagal, who isn't acting. Even if I can't understand what they're saying because I'm a stupid idiot and can only speak English, they're playing the part, and I believe the part that they're playing. They're doing a great job. I think you're absolutely right.
And that is evidenced by, I mean, I don't want to get into this part of the episode that we always get into, talking about where, like, what happened to all these people, because I did a little bit of research into some of the actors and actresses who were in this movie, and a lot of them went on to do really big stuff or had already done big stuff before doing this movie. I don't know how they got wrangled into this. Like, in this movie is Chiaki Koriyama, who was in Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2. Like, she was, like, the main Yakuza lady in... she plays Ayako, who honestly I could not tell you
the governor.
who that is in this movie. I think so.
Okay, cool.
But she, later on in life, she would play the one of the main baddies.
Oh,
in,
she was
Kill Bill.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. Oh, she's also in Battle
Yeah.
Royale. Oh,
Yes,
those are both before this one. Wow.
there are some famous actors in this.
Huh.
Like,
She was in Full Metal Alchemist.
They were lied to. They were told Steven Seagal is this huge American action star, and it'll be a really good deal to be in his movie.
he's a
And
very
Wait,
famous American action star.
This is definitely not her biggest role, but I love this. She also had a voice role in Shadows of the Damned. The Goichi Suda and Shinji Mikami produced like Xbox 360 or PS3 third-person shooter. Oh, that's fun.
yeah, I mean, a lot of these people have done.
That's good. I'm glad.
Yeah, I mean, do we want to wrap up our thoughts on the movie and officially talk about the...
I guess my final thought on this movie is, like, there is artistry here. Like, there were people working on this movie who were trying very hard to make a good movie. And in some places, and I would say in many more places than we've recently seen in these Seagal films, they succeeded in making something artful and
definitely.
something like worth watching. This movie is just so much held back by trying to be a Seagal vehicle. There is no reason that this needs to be about an American at all. Like, none of the American characters matter. If this were a straight up Japanese movie, I would have enjoyed it way more.
That's not the first time it's happened. We've talked about this movie as, like, you know, has some good parts and Scotland. Like, that's not a new observation, but this might be like the worst it's been.
No,
because like you said, he shouldn't even be there
pretty bad.
Plot wise, real life wise. Like, just it would be better without him.
Like I said before, we haven't even talked about his sidekick, because his sidekick, this American guy, an FBI agent operating in Japan,
who doesn't speak
any
any Japanese,
who doesn't speak. He describes himself as a field agent who speaks no Japanese at all. He speaks Spanish to various Japanese people throughout this movie.
Okay, but
he knows absolutely nothing. He is terrible at his job. He gets himself killed at the halfway point.
Well, it's because he didn't do it Skull's way.
He does not matter to this movie.
No,
he does get kicked in the head, which was very funny. Like, from a standing position, one of the new Yakuza guys, like, kicks him in the head from a standing position, and it was pretty funny.
No, he has value for that, and one of my favorite lines in the movie is when Seagal just, like, is like, hey, just, like, wait outside for a bit, and he's just, like, standing next to these, like these random, like, Japanese, like, business dudes, and he's just like, what's up, dog? And they're like, what? And he's like, never mind. That part is pretty funny.
Don't worry about it.
So there's a couple funny moments with him, but yeah, it very much is, like, an actually pretty fun, like, Yakuza thriller that just happens to have, like, Seagal, like, bumbling through it, very poorly delivering lines, having his fully clothed sex with a woman much younger than him, saying, I don't...
Needlessly half-naked women
telling
in
him
the
how cool he is,
background,
saying, I don't like to fight, I'm all about nonviolence, and then immediately fighting somebody the next scene. Like, all of the Seagal things.
The opening title sequence has a naked woman's butt. Why? Like, there was a good movie here.
Yeah.
There could have been a really good movie. Like, at least... I'm not going to say, like, there's a secret masterpiece hidden within Into the Sun.
Crime thriller.
But, like, there were a lot of people involved in this movie who were trying very hard and had the capacity to make a good film.
It's like a decent crime thriller way down by Seagal. Without Seagal, it would be like a pretty solid, like, crime thriller.
Yeah.
Did you know that there was a 1991 action movie called Into the Sun?
Yeah, because I almost watched it on accident.
I kind of wish I had watched that instead.
I mean, I wish I watched this Yakuza film that they plagiarized, so...
This sounds kind of fun. A fighter pilot is reluctantly paired with a Hollywood actor who's researching a role, but are forced to team up for real after being shot down and thrust into combat. That sounds fun.
It's like the opposite of Barry.
Oh, I was going to say it reminds me of that episode of Archer when he's paired up with this actress, or when Lana's paired up with this actress, but actually she's like a KGB agent.
It was a Russian plant.
That's what I meant. Speaking of Barry, season 4. Season 4 is dark. So Hans, any other final thoughts on this movie before we kind of do our whole favorite quotes, actors, who they are, where they aren't?
I still think this is it's just kind of boring until you get to the end. A whole bunch of stuff happened that didn't need to happen, didn't really have a whole lot of reason to happen, and it didn't really tie together that well. But honestly, I think that's because I was trying to pay too much attention to the dialogue that didn't make any sense, and I really wish I had seen the movie that Aaron saw.
Honestly, it was pretty great. I had a good time. When they teased a sequel, I'm like, I'd watch it.
I do have my favorite line though.
That's fine.
Okay, wait.
Favorite line.
Wait, should we do actors and stuff first? Because
let's do actors.
So you've pointed out
two of them
so far. You've pointed out Walter Peck, and you've pointed out
yeah. Well, his actual name is William Atherton. Walter Peck is the character that he plays in Ghostbusters.
Well, okay, but I was gonna say, like, you pointed out like Walter Peck, and you pointed out like Gogo Yubari, but okay, you pointed out Chiaki Kuriyama. You know, let's use the real name. One that I do find fun. So the rookie, like this cop, what up, dog? I don't speak any Japanese. He did play Warner Huntington III in Legally Blonde.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
That was 4 years before this one. He was in Pearl Harbor. Like, he was in other things too, but like as soon as I saw that that was him from Legally Blonde, I thought that was pretty fun.
I can't believe I forgot about it almost. I can't believe we haven't talked about it. One of the bad guys in here, his name is Kojima.
Oh, okay. I will find any excuse to bring up like a Hideo Kojima game. Like, I don't just need he has the same last name.
There we go.
Like,
I was waiting for it.
Come on, I'm trying to rein it in a bit.
Are you?
Tako Osawa was in Sky High. That was a pretty fun like childhood flick.
Oh,
Totally different Sky High.
Oh. Well, that would help if I'm going to edit that part out. And I'm actually going to edit it out. When I have control, Hans, he would leave that in to do me dirty.
No. Only when it benefits the comedic
He
timing.
was, however, in the same year that he filmed Into the Sun, he was in March of the Penguins.
Nice. Wait, what? March of the Penguins? What was he in March of the
March
Penguins?
of the Penguins.
Not the Surf's Up Penguin movie? March?
No.
Who was in March of the Penguins beside the Penguins and Morgan Freeman? What did he do in March of the Penguins?
He played Chi-Chi the Penguin.
What?
Wait, what are you talking about?
March of the Penguins. You remember March of the Penguins?
Yes.
I do. It was narrated by Morgan Freeman, wasn't it?
There were a whole bunch of people in this.
I remember Morgan Freeman and I remember Penguins. Did we watch a different? Is this a different March of the Penguins?
No, it's the Morgan Freeman March of the Penguins.
And look, when I look at the cast, it's all just different narrators for different languages.
Oh.
Are you sure?
There are some of these people. No, he didn't do the narration. He played a penguin. Some of the penguins.
No, there weren't any.
You play a penguin.
The penguins didn't have voices.
Some of these people play penguins.
You are speaking insanity.
Send this to us. What are you looking at right now? Send us a
I'm
link.
looking at the IMDb page for March of the Penguins.
I'm looking at the IMDb page for March of the Penguins, and the only cast I can see here are the different narrators for different languages.
No. So, Hikari Ishida played Haha the Penguin. Adrian Killian played a penguin baby. Andrea Catherine Lewig played a penguin mother. Takao Osawa.
That's the different
Chi-Chi
narrators
the
for the different. It says German version, the Indian version, Italian version, Danish version. I think those are just the different narrators.
No, they're not. Look at this.
I don't believe you.
Are we? They made a sequel. Interesting.
Really?
Oh, it came out on Hulu in 2018. Apparently. We're.
A lot of these people play penguins.
I need to rewatch.
Apparently, they needed some people.
Are you
to do
accidentally
some
looking at the Happy Feet? I am.
That was
No,
mine.
it's not a Happy Feet. It's March of the Penguins. I don't know what they did. He's just credited as Chi-Chi the Penguin.
Okay. Wait. Okay. From Wikipedia. The original French language release features a romanticized first-person narrative as if the story is being told by the penguins themselves. The narration alternates between a female and a male narrator speaking the alternate roles of female and male penguin, and as the chicks are born, their narration is handled by child actor Jules Citruk. The style is mimicked in some of the international versions. For example, in the Hungarian version, blah, 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 provide the voice of the penguins. I'm sorry. Akos Kosegi, Anna Kubik, and Gabor Morvai provide the voice of the penguins. And the German version, as seen in the German movie theaters, uses the voices of Andrea Loig, Thorsten Michaelis, and Adrian Killian for the dub dialogue. The style of narration is also used for the Danish and Cantonese DVD versions. So in America, we got Morgan Freeman narrates. It looks like in other languages, they have this like being told. So I'm assuming there's like mom, dad, and kid penguin in like each version.
Interesting.
Okay.
Welcome to Watch of the Penguins, the March of the Penguins podcast.
Well, hey, you learned something new. That's
all right.
Wacky.
I'm sorry we doubted you, Aaron. I will be the first to formally apologize.
Thank you. I accept your apology.
So Yeah, the same year he was voicing the Penguin in the Penguin documentary. He was in Into the Sun. That was Tako Osawa, by the way, for all that stuff that we went through. Any other?
I mean, some of these people, we've done this before. I mean, I have done this before. Talked about this in some of the previous movies, which were filmed by international teams. I am sure that some of these actors and actresses are incredibly famous, actually. Like, I'm looking at Kosuke Toyohara, who in this played Fudomyo. Oh, and I don't know who that was. One of the Yakuza guys. And he has 122 acting credits, and he's still making movies and stuff. Oh, he was in Tokyo Vice, the TV series with what's his name? Wait, I have a thing I can click on that just tells me his name. Ansel Elgort.
Oh, fun.
A reporter in Japan.
I've never seen that one.
He was all right.
I do like that here. Eddie George, who plays one of the his buddy who's like killed in the opening scene, that like does not matter at all. His like war buddy.
Yeah.
He was a professional football player and also has appeared in an episode of Comedy Bang Bang, which I enjoy. I'm not going to say that's his biggest, most successful role, but I enjoy that one. We've talked about William Atherton, Walter Peck. I'm sure he did other stuff, but moving on. The one thing I did notice, not looking at actors and such, but the director of this actually I didn't see many other feature-length films, but he has directed a lot of music videos. I guarantee you have seen like multiple of the music videos that he has directed. Christopher Morrison, for example, he was the videographer for No Scrubs by TLC. So, that alone. But yeah, he's worked with Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Old Air Bastard, Jay-Z, R. Kelly, LL Cool J, Busta Rhymes. Like he had DMX, nice. Oh, that's interesting. Actually, he directed the music video for "Ain't No Sunshine" by DMX, which was featured in Exit Wounds, that was like the main like track anytime DMX appeared on screen. That's a fun connection. Aaliyah, Queen Latifah, Brandy, like Usher. He's got like a lot, specifically like a lot of like the hip hop community that he's done music videos for. And then a Japanese Steven Seagal film.
What in the world?
I don't know how that fits.
The composer for this music by the Stanley Clarke for this movie. Remember we said in the opening sequence like the music's on a loop? Yeah. Stanley Clarke. So I clicked on his name and I thought, I'm sad that I might see like a whole bunch of garbage in here. No, actually. He was the composer for Boys in the Hood, The Transporter, Static Shock, the TV show.
Nice! Also a 5-time Grammy winner.
Yeah.
Wow. This guy's very accomplished. Dang, he did the music for Static Shock, so he's also like basically my hero. Like,
I guess he just kind of phoned it in on this one, huh?
Well, let's not make assumptions.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Wait.
Maybe he likes the music that he made for
Hold on, have we talked about Akira Terao yet?
No.
A Japanese musician, singer, and actor. He is the only male actor to have received both the Japan Record Award and the Japan Academy Award for Outstanding Performance by an Actor in a Leading Role. But the thing that first drew my attention is that he was in Dreams by Akira Kurosawa, which is soon getting a Criterion 4K re-release. That alone.
He also doesn't have a photograph on IMDb.
Dude, no, this dude is my hero.
Amazing.
He also worked under Akira Kurosawa and Ran.
People who have done, like, really... They're accomplished people.
I don't know why we're still surprised by this, but...
Well, because I thought those days were over.
That's true. Not quite over
I
yet.
thought we were.
Although I will point out, we kind of lost track of this. We haven't been keeping up on this. We probably saw Seagal's last run, but I'm not sure when it was. I don't know if we like took notes on like if he ran in a movie or not. He didn't run in this one. I don't know if we're seeing him run anymore. He did seem to exert some effort, quotation marks around that. I have noticed, so I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in Aikido or pretend to know like really what Aikido is. And I'm not going to say Aikido is just like vaguely flailing your arms at another person, but it is very convenient for Steven Seagal that Aikido action scenes in movies can just look a lot like kind of flailing your arms at another person
Flailing around.
before you randomly like get the hit that just like breaks all of their bones and like crushes their spine.
Yeah.
It's very convenient for him that he can just kind of and that can be his like whole day on set. So he did seem to put some effort into this, but we have not yet seen the final days of him actually having like talented actors on board. We probably saw his last day running. I know for a while Hans is pretty good about keeping on track of that. I don't know the last time he ran, but it hasn't happened in a minute. He hasn't done it in the last like 4 movies. I don't think it's happening.
Well, I do, because we've talked about it before. I want to give props to the costume designer.
Yes.
Chantika Kongsilawat. I'm sure I pronounced that incorrectly. Who did costumes for The Hangover Part 2, but not the first.
Peak Hangover. Do we want to talk about our favorite quotes and movies you should watch instead?
Sure.
Okay, go Hans.
My favorite quote is probably preceded by my least favorite line from this movie.
Is that how it always is?
So he's like, I don't even remember where this was, but he walks in, there are a bunch of baddies, and he starts antagonizing them. And they're all eating sushi.
Yes.
And he looks down at the sushi, and it's just like normal sushi. And he says, "You really eat this crap?" And I like, it just hurts because it's so stupid. But then immediately after that, he grabs the chopsticks off the sushi plate and jams them into this guy's neck and goes, "These your chopsticks?" Like it's a question. That's my favorite line.
I had that as one of the lines pointed out here because it's even worse. He says, "What is this, sushi? You guys really eat this crap?" And I'm just thinking, you're the guy who's been talking about how you were like raised here and you know these streets better than anyone else, and you react to sushi in the year 2005.
Yeah, so irritating. I can't even describe why that's so irritating. It's just so irritating. Movie you should watch instead of this one? Oh man, pretty much anything, but I'm gonna have to go ahead and recommend The Big Lebowski. It has nothing to do with this movie.
I feel like yours are getting less and less connected like every episode. Just like, here's a good movie.
It is a good movie, and I've been thinking about it, and I need to go back and rewatch it. It's been a minute.
Okay. Aaron?
My favorite line from this movie was everything that was in Japanese that I didn't understand.
Respect.
Because it significantly added to my enjoyment of this movie. The movie you should watch instead is The Yakuza from 1974, which is apparently this movie, but didn't have to be edited to not be that movie.
Fair enough, I'll give you that.
I've not seen it. I have no idea if it's good.
I'm sure it's better. Yeah, it sounds good.
It's probably better than this one.
So my quotes, I like the one I did have, what is it, sushi, you really eat this crap? Because again, that just stuck out as insanely weird. But also when he's with his fiance in the park right before he proposes, I really liked that they're in the park and you might not have gotten this, I can't remember, this might have been in Japanese, and she says, "Should we walk a little?" And he says, no, let's sit, I have something I want to say. Because it's just very funny given this context of like knowing that Seagal's like last 10 years are infamous for like him refusing to get out of a chair while filming movies. I'm just picturing that wasn't even like the,
you can't walk and
that
talk.
wasn't the
Gotta
take.
sit and
in
talk.
any other movie they would like walk and talk about this, but this wasn't even like, dialogue. This wasn't like actually in the script. She's just like, we have this whole park like set, like we're filming on location, should we walk a little? And he's like, no, I'm sitting. So I laughed because of that one. Movies I haven't said, within the first 5 seconds, I was thinking Tropic Thunder, because I'm just watching the opening scene, and I'm like, this just feels like, I'm just picturing like Ben Stiller crying, like, you're my brother. So you should watch Tropic Thunder instead. And I was going to say
one should watch Tropic Thunder.
I was going to say any Akira Kurosawa film, but that was going to originally be like Seven Samurai or like Yojimbo or something that like has like sword fights and samurai in it. But now seeing this actor like appearing in Dreams, you should watch Dreams. So a Kurosawa film, but not the one I was expecting when I first thought that. Or you should play Sleeping Dogs. I'm counting that one. You should play Sleeping Dogs instead of watching this.
Play Sleeping Dogs instead of watching
absolutely.
Tropic Thunder.
Oh, no. Instead of Tropic... No, do both. You can do both. Put Tropic Thunder on while I play Sleeping Dogs. Okay, anyway, that concludes this podcast. That concludes Waking Dogs, the Sleeping Dogs fancast. In addition to those ones, another one, similar to Aaron, I have another movie that I haven't actually seen yet, but I'm sure is better. If I did my math right, this episode should be releasing some weeks from now, but it should be releasing 2 weeks after Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning has come out in the theaters.
Oh, go watch Mission Impossible.
Because I'm not even kidding. We talked about before about how it kind of ruins it when like you're watching like these movies and then you go watch like John Wick or like something like a good action or Jason Bourne or whatever, and then you come back to this.
Yeah.
I had something very similar. A new Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 trailer came out today. So not even a whole movie. But I watched like the first half of this movie, and then I watched the trailer for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, and then going back to this, I'm like, oh, this is so much worse. So really, in truth, my movie listener, who is, you know, our most devoted fan, the Steven Hiradals, who is listening like the day this drops, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is in theaters right now. You should go watch that instead of this movie. Go watch Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Don't even finish this episode.
Yeah, stop, pause. I don't care if there's like 5 seconds left. Or you can listen to the podcast in the car if you're currently driving to the theater now to go watch Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning.
But only if you're
Rebecca
currently
Ferguson has
driving
eye
to the
patch
theater
in this
right now.
one. It's going to be so hype.
Rebecca Ferguson with an eye
It's going to
patch.
be the movie of the year. This is Mission Impossible, the Mission Impossible fan cast. This is, I don't like the Scientology, but damn, this Tom Cruise guy can act. The Tom Cruise fan cast. Ooh. Season 2, Tom Cruise. That's a real contender.
Oh,
So,
right
please.
after we do Adam Sandler.
I'm going to like have to move this to the front of the episode. Hit pause, get in your car, look up showtimes, get in the AMC app or Cinemark or whatever, go find the closest, you know, the soonest showing of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, go watch that. You can listen to this on your way to the theater.
Yeah.
And for when our podcast is a cult hit and we have millions of followers after we're dead or whatever.
Why do we have to be
You
dead?
can just go rent it.
Oh, what was that? What was that detail?
I thought
It
it
can't
added
be a
some
cult
spice.
hit like 5 years from now. Anyway, what were you gonna say though? After we're long dead,
Oh, you can just go rent
Oh,
Mission Impossible.
just hook up Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 into like your brain tube and watch it in the metaspace where you can be
You know,
Tom
go
Cruise.
dispense your Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 tablet and eat it, and then you'll know the movie.
Yeah,
I
Because
still
I
haven't
assume
watched
that's
the
how
trailer.
movies
I
will
need
be
to.
consumed in the future. They'll be literally consumed.
and you can probably watch Part 2 as well. I'm assuming that came out. I don't know. Watch Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning
that only
Part
comes
2.
out as eye drops. They move from
Oh.
tablets to eye drops.
But you do have to join the Church of Scientology to be allowed to watch that one.
Yeah.
That's how they're going to get me.
I mean, you have to do that to do anything now. You
Yeah.
need to use roads.
yeah, ever since they took over the government and all
Yeah.
major religions.
Man, I hope we're dead when that happens.
What a weird time we live in, where Scientology rules everything. Make sure to check your Thetan levels daily.
And join us next week. Oh, I don't actually know what's...
I don't look ahead.
You don't look ahead? You don't look
No.
to when Scientology rules
I
the
think,
world?
what movie do I have to watch today? What's it called? And I forget the title 3 times as I'm searching
Yeah,
for it.
honestly. Submerged.
And then I find like 3 other movies with that same title, which are probably better than what I'm about to watch.
Submerged.
This looks so
Are we back on a submarine?
bad. Oh, this looks so
Hey,
bad.
Hey, Under Siege 2 looked really bad if you're just looking at the poster.
Oh, that's okay.
He found the enemy on the wrong side. The wrong side of... Isn't that why they're the enemy?
What?
His name is Chris Cody with a K.
Okay. Join us next week for Submerged, where Agent Chris Cody Banks finds an enemy on the wrong side. I get welcome. Join us for Under Siege 3 Submerged. I'm not looking forward to this one. Which means, knowing the history of this podcast, it's actually going to be like my favorite. But I'm not looking forward to it. Okay. Good night.
That means one of us has to die.
Hey everybody, welcome to Steve and See It All again, the Steve and See It All fan cast.
Hey everybody, listen to Steven Don't See It All. This is the post show when we talk about Steven See It All.
Stephen, for the love of all that is holy, do not see it all.